Hi everyone, how are you doing today? So, I wanted to get into the sun. I'm sorry I haven't posted in a little while. I don't want to put a product out there that's unfinished, but at the same time, I'm learning every day. So, it's like everything's constantly changing, but that shouldn't stop me from trying to express it and still trying to like learn faster and kind of get my communication out there. Okay, so the sun in astrology is one of the key components to who you are. So that's why it's like the most important. And what how you calculate your sun sign is you look at where the sun was in the specific time that you were born. So if you were born in January, you could be either a Capricorn or an Aquarius. If you were born March, Pisces, maybe an Aries in later March. It just you guys can get that pretty easy. And it goes through the 12 signs just like the 12 seasons, right? Okay. So the sun in religion is kind of looked at as like a deity, the sun god Ra, all these different gods that kind of represent the sun or the main, right? The sun gives off light, and we kind of talked about what light does. It's a creation of some sort, or it's a lens or an illusion, and it puts off the light in how it wants to be perceived, kind of thing. So it's your essence, it's your fire, it's your ego. And when I say ego, I mean everything that's going on in your head, like the way you see the world. That's your sun sign. You see, because the sun gives off light and you're seeing with that, right? So that is what it is. And it's could be looked at as like your solar plexus if you're talking about chakras. And it can be represented in any of the 12 signs like I said. And it's just kind of how you it's like the character you're playing this time, this reincarnation, right? So since your sun is your wants and it's the way you see things, right? Now let's kind of take it into now the different energies that the sun can play out in. So there's a few things you need to know before we get into the signs. So there's three modalities. Okay, so there's cardinal, there's fixed, and there's mutable. Cardinal is they're like the initiator. It's like the one kind of thing. They have like the ability to do whatever they want with the element that they have. So they're like the creator, kind of like they created that thing, kind of thing. And it's kind of about like the initiation kind of thing. They're like the forward kind of thing. The fixed is they build something, they maintain that thing, and then they control that thing. So, meaning like in anything, like an emotion, they have an emotion, and then they understand what that thing is, and then control it, kind of thing. Same thing with a like a business opportunity. They'd be the ones to stay put until they find something better and they know for sure they got that thing. They're like, they're fixed. So you can take that with however you want, right? And then mutable is they're the fluid, they can adapt, and they're mostly fluid to transform in some way. So that's why their views can be kind of, fluid. It can be here or there. It could change day to day. Those kind of things. And now there's four elements. Okay, so there's Earth, and Earth, they kind of like they're managing their reality kind of thing. They're here mostly like doing reality things. They're about logic, security, foundation. It's earth. You just think of a block, it's earth. So it's just, and then you can get aside from then it grows things, whatever, what is exactly earth. It's just something solid kind of thing. And air, they're about ideas, they're about thoughts, communication, social things. So they'd be the ones that they talk a lot because they're giving their air, right? Or they'd be the ones to kind of, depending, maybe for an Aquarius, then you want to stay your opinions and stuff, right? They're the air, so they constantly have thoughts, they're constantly thinking, that kind of thing. And these elements, before I get farther, can be played out in different signs as well. We're just talking about purely the sun sign this time. And then there's water. So water it's kind of they're like the emotional fillers. So everything that happens to them, they have some sort of emotional stance on it all the time. And that could be for good or bad. They can be maybe super happy, or they could be super sad. So that's why they're looked at as the depressing kids and stuff. The kids that like the darker stuff or the fantasy stuff, that's your water signs, right? And the fire, they're intuitional, and they're the seers. So they always see what's going on, even if they can't express the words. Maybe their ego's tainting it or whatever it is. They always see what's going on. They know what's going on in their head. They don't have to explain it to you, So that's why they're passionate about it. They're very intense emotion right there, And they're spontaneous, but then there's also the kind of people that inspire people because of their intense passion, because they're shining bright or whatever, right? And then they know what's up, kind of thing. That's the fire, okay? So let's kind of just go down the line with these. So there's Aries. And Aries sees things in a fiery cardinal way. But Aries is about the personal things, right? So, because they're the one. So everything that's related to their personal life. So it's kind of if you imagine how they look at things, kind of. It's, thoughts upon it, but there's a dot, and then they think about something. Oh, they like that thing. They see that thing. Go to it. Cardinal. The initiator, right? Just go. Kind of thing. And then, so everything related in their personal life, they're about it. So then they can be considered kind of selfish in some ways, but they that doesn't mean that they can't love and have some sort of relationship with others and stuff. They just like to be the one. They kind of just put themselves above everybody else, which isn't necessarily good or bad, right? And then there's Taurus. So Taurus sees things in a fixed earth way, and it's about your growth and kind of what matters to you. Keyword matter. So it's kind of, they'll see something that they like and something that they can gain, or something they can control, or something they can possess, and that's what they like, right? And that's the fixed energy. So then they're loyal, right? They stay on that one person if it's a person that they wanted, or they'll stay on their money if it's money that they wanted. That's Taurus. It just kind of fixates on one thing and then grows within that thing. And then there's Gemini. So Gemini sees their surroundings, and they see it in a mutable or air way, and they're about communication and stuff, right? So Gemini is always correlated with the twins. There's always the two shoulders, which is kind of funny because Gemini rules the shoulders. So it's kind of the good and the bad angel, that kind of thing. And why that is because they're mutable air. So they can think a lot, and they can develop these ideas, and they can develop these bad ideas and these good ideas. So it's always kind of like they're split off. And then they're always talking, and they're always like communicating in some way. Maybe they're on social media all the time, even if they don't talk. Or they're heavily involved within their friends and surroundings and stuff. And they're the ones that are like, they'll talk good about you, but then, they might say one bad thing. And that's kind of a win. Because Geminis they'll talk about anything kind of thing. They're pretty straightforward as well, so that's kind of cool. So then there's Cancers. The Cancers sees things in a cardinal watery way, and it's related to the home issues and community issues. And they're seen as like the crab. So what is a cardinal watery way? So it's like the initiator of the emotions and feelings kind of thing. So they bring the vibe. They control it, right? They're the ones that walk in that room, and then they might be like the coolest kid, or then they might be like the awkward kid. But either way, they're setting the mood. They're the ones, right? And it's the same thing looked at as like the Cancers ruled by the moon. And then the moon sets the mood for all of humanity kind of thing. And that's why like Cancer is kind of powerful here. But it's related with like home issues and community issues. So it's anything, like they're always caring about something. Even if they hate you, they still care about hating you. It's kind of that thing though. They're always caring, but that can be good or bad for them. They can really get stuck in their emotions and then kind of get depressed or whatever if they don't know how to deal with them, or they don't understand them and why they change so often. It's because of the planet they're ruled by. That's why. And that's the way they see things, They see like the vibe. They know things kind of thing. But then if you wanted to compare it, they're the crab, because if you imagine this is water, they're the ones like going in and out of it, so they can go on dry land and stuff. But if they like get scared of the emotion, then they'll run away to land, that kind of thing. And that's why it's looked at as like the crab will pinch you and hang on, it's because they set that mood, so they're gonna be mad at you, and you're gonna feel it because they're pretty powerful here. A Leo sees things in a fixed, fiery way, and they're about creativity, expression, love, sex, these things. All expressions of emotions kind of thing. That's like a Leo. So they see things in a fixed, fiery way. So meaning like they see one thing, right? But then it's fixed, meaning it stays that way. They just straight up will only see it that way now. It's very hard to change. They can be changed, but it's very hard. Once they think they know something, that's it, But then they can also be like very loyal, loving creatures. They just want kind of like their fur to be stroked kind of thing. And, if they're giving you love and everything, maybe you should, It's, they're kind of misunderstood because a lot of people think of like egotistical and stuff. But their heart's always big. That's for sure with the Leo, right? And a Virgo now. Okay. So Virgo sees things in an earth mutable way. Meaning, so they, earth, it's about like the analytics, the logic, right? The reality, okay? But it's mutable. Meaning they can change their stances on things too. And they can be like very friendly, but if they're around, whatever their environment is, then that'll kind of be mutable. So then they'll adapt to that. They're like adapters. And they're the ones that kind of are like their house is the service, and they're the ruler. So it's just kind of like always doing things for others or always doing things for themselves, and it's always just kind of like a mutable process. So like they can be super perfectionists, but if they're down one day or whatever, then they're okay with that. They're okay with things not going their way that day. It's that kind of thing. So it's mutable earth. Okay. A Libra sees things in a, cardinal airway. So, it's the initiator, right? So they initiate the conversation, the air, the thought process. So they're all about like the relationships and the friendships. It doesn't have to be boyfriend, girlfriend. It's all about that. And like, so that's why they're looked at as like the loving sign. They're looked at as like they bring balance within the relationships and stuff. It's because they set the what's it called, the air, the atmosphere kind of thing. So they set that, and they're the cardinals. So that's why like it's always looked at like the balance, right? So it's like the first thought kind of thing, and then that thought, it's kind of, it gets deep, but I'm not gonna get too deep into that. We're just talking about sun signs right now. A Scorpio is seen in a fixed watery way, and they're all about transformation. So fixed water. So I said the Cancer was like, on the beach, going in and out kind of thing. Well, the Scorpio would be like deep in the water because it's cold down there, so it stays there. So what that means is kind of like they see something that gave them emotions, and maybe they liked it, and they fixated on it. And so this is what gets them kind of like stuck, because they can get really deep, but then they might only stay on that one subject, or that same job. But it's also like about a power struggle in a sense, and this is why they can be looked at as like the deceptive people, because they're deep in the water, so they understand the emotion, right? And then they can understand how to like conversate that now. So this is like why they're deceptive and stuff. And it's just because they kind of get like, maybe they got fixated in that way of doing that to people. Who knows what happened to them. But I like to say it's about transformation, because when I say it's about death and regeneration, or life and death, then people get kind of confused. And bringing death to something is just changing it. It just altered now. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It just altered. That's what it is. And so that's why it's about transformation, And so they can be the ones to like, end things, or they can regenerate it, meaning they'll keep going with it. And that's why like it's fixed, right? Okay, and then there's Sagittarius. That's mutable fire. So fire is like the seers, and it's mutable, meaning they can see like all kinds of realms, everything. So like all kinds of situations, and they can analyze those things kind of. But they're about higher knowledge as well. And higher knowledge doesn't have to mean like, oh, you know everything. No, it could be like whatever they do know, they know a lot about that thing, and they know like the best way to do things and stuff. And then they can adapt that over time and stuff. But it's like mutable fire, so that's also why sometimes they're like, they'd be the annoying one in school, because they'd be like talking smack, and then go over here, do this thing, and then go over here, do these things, because it's the fire just kind of, it's kind of going wherever. And then we get into like Capricorn, and they see things in a cardinal earth way. So it's the initiator, but then it's earth, which is about, managing reality, logical things, foundation things, right? So they're seen as like they're the workers. So they're the ones that got like a really good work drive, or maybe they always are like on time, scheduled, that kind of thing. And if they don't have that, that might be bad to them. So they're about all about kind of like working kind of thing. It's like about public status. Is kind of about Capricorn. And so it's the initiator, right? It's cardinal, so it can like create whatever thing, but something here. So it might be like a construction company, or maybe anything really, anything that has to do with Earth, which is like logical things, right? So it could be anything, and then they can be like, so to speak, the best at it if they really tried, right? And an Aquarius. So an Aquarius sees things in a fixed air way. And they'd be like, a fixed air means like they have an idea and they hold that idea. This is why they are seen as the water bearer. Okay? And what do you think of when you see the water bearer, right? They're pouring the water. They are not the water. So the water is the feelings, the emotions, the yin realm, it's these things. And they're pouring their idea of what it is, meaning how much and, whatever, right? They're pouring that onto the world. And that's why they're very opinionated. Very opinionated. And they could be very smart. That's true. But if they didn't fixate on the right thing, it might be like a bad thing that they fixated on. It all depends, but they're seen as like the revolutionaries, and they deal a lot with like associates. So since they're air and since they're like fixed, it means that like they don't have a lot of emotion kind of thing. So they can be very detached kind of thing because they might be in their head or whatever. But it's kind of like they love you, but at the same time they love the idea of you. It's not necessarily like an intense emotion. They sure have emotion, but it's not as powerful. It really depends on what else they got going on, but this is the way they see things. So then, they can be looked at as like detached or whatever, and then they be looked at as like unknown things kind of thing, like the weirdos. But they end up being like the smartest, right? And we're coming to the age of Aquarius, so they're going to be more powerful as well, and we're going to see some more influences in that kind of energy, which might be why there's going to be some sort of uprising of some sort, maybe some revolutions happening. I don't know. We probably won't see it. I'll probably die before then, but we're close. We're pretty close. And then Pisces. So Pisces sees things in a mutable water way. So what that means is they are very illusional. So then they can like, they got the water going on, so they got a lot of these intense emotions and stuff. But it's mutable, meaning it can change all the time. Meaning, so Scorpio's down here, then Pisces like, he's over there, he's zooming. He might go down there for a second, but he ain't staying there. He's going back up. He's just out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. And that's a Pisces. He's just kind of like spacey. That's kind of how they see things. It's kind of like, it's like right when you wake up and how you're all groggy and stuff. That's how they see all the time. They might not walk into Walmart and then end up at the back and they're like, oh wow, how'd I get here? It's that kind of thing. They're just like, they can envision it though. See, I could speak on Pisces because I am a Pisces, and the others, I don't know how they see it, but I can understand the modalities and the energies going on. But I'm sure some of this clicked to you guys. It's just, that's how you figure out anything, you figure out the element of it, and then you figure out the modality, and then, you can kind of infer from there. And so you can see, like, you can look at the opposites and stuff. We'll get into all these things later on, but this is just a starter, right? It's just the sun sign. So I hope that helped you guys. I mean, I'm a Pisces, so I can be pretty like confusing, or maybe I'll get lost in the water. But I see it. I know what I'm talking about, but I may say it the wrong way, and that's kind of my issue. But I'll get better, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you guys want to see next. If you don't, then I'll just kind of start going down the planets, and we'll run through the whole thing, and then maybe start doing some opposites, start understanding what squares, trines, and all these things are. So we'll get into it. All right. Bye, guys.